Gators and Mussolini, Hannibal, place in this party. Red in the Red Tsunami, Red Creeks in the Red Ferrari, Red Clay, will range your bodies, medical, hit like somebody, ya, bless. They call me Mr. Manifest. You fellas screaming out the chest. I got this technique better. I found my destination to a red light. Rock your soul to the daylight. Hot your going crazy, right? Nancy going crazy, right up, man, fight. I'm purple hazy through the night. I'm thinking chili out of spite. I'm making soup for the slice. I'm speaking Alabama cream. I'm South going through the streets. I rock that rage all the day. Kusa King is outrageous. Kusa. I'm talking, they call me Nico Tussanui. On the flame like a dude. In the fields of the core. And I got something funny.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover, in for long haul, baby. Good evening, Peter. How are you?
Very good, Doni. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Welcome to the Indigenous series. Our guest tonight, as always, is Mr. Hannibal James. He's on deck. Peter Brooks is in the stream. Tonight we're talking about Indigenous. As always, good evening to our guests, particularly in the chat. Big Ma Baby, hello to you. My name's Doni Glover, author, writer, publisher, student of this guy here on the screen. And he's an Indigenous fan, as am I. Hannibal, come on in, man. There he is, our fearless leader.
Hey, what up, though, Doni?
Oh, man, right. You a lot more relaxed.
Yeah, I'm all right tonight. How y'all
you catch Hannibal in the middle of the work game, boy. It's like, no, I got to catch you when it's done.
Yes, sir.
How was your weekend?
Yeah.
Busy, like usual. Had a lot of work to do this weekend, but I got it done.
Peter, how about yourself?
Same thing, busy. A lot of work to do, but got it done. At least 90% of it. I still got a little more to do. For me, it was doing dishes.
Dishes?
Oh, man. Yeah, I had to...
a pile of dishes.
Yeah, I had to run a sump pump discharge line in my backyard. So I had some work to do. So
that's serious, yeah.
So I got it done. So I got it put together. So now I'm burying it in the morning. So
Hannibal, let's put a plug in for your website. Tell them about ourheritagehub.com.
So I created ourheritagehub.com about a couple months ago. I can't remember offhand, but it's a place where I put some of my genealogy research over the last 20 years, things that I done found out about my Pacific family and how it corresponds with history. That's what our Heritage Hub is. Then I offer my genealogical research services, for people that want to start their voyage in this type of course of things. So that's what our Heritage Hub is. It's a work in progress, put it that way. So right now,
I'm a big fan of people who start businesses. particularly people who stick with them, because I know how it is to start from scratch. Do you remember when I started Be More News, Peter?
Yes, I do. Way back in the day. You really started it before you graduated. I mean, you were in the early stages of it with the one mic. Didn't you do that at Morgan?
That was a radio show over at Morgan State. But I was thinking back to the mid-'90s when Tony Brown, Ron Nichols brought Tony Brown through the campus, Tony Brown's journal. And we sat with a legend. And this was 30 years ago. But even then, we knew he was a legend. You remember Tony Brown, Hannibal?
Like, could you refresh my memory? You know,
He was a black journalist who had a show, Tony Brown's Journal. He had with the glasses and the afro.
Yeah.
But long story short, he said the day would come when you'd be able to touch a computer screen, hit one button, and touch 1 million people. That's what I remember being fascinated by during my tenure at Coppin State. Planet, good evening.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
Good to see everybody. Okay, yeah. Good.
Planet, do you think you could handle New York City today?
Yeah. It'd be different, but when you're from someplace, you know the rhythm no matter what. And New York is like that, you know. So yeah, I can't say I would want to live there, but yeah, I could handle it.
Planet, I was up there. You know where Chelsea is?
Oh, sure.
You remember 42nd and 8th from back in the day?
Absolutely. 100%.
It ain't 42nd and 8th today.
What it look like now?
Gentrified.
It's like white women jogging.
from Connecticut. Well, Chelsea always was affluent. Chelsea always was affluent. Like the East Village went through a transformation.
Well, 42nd and 8th back in the day was the deuce. Right. And it was as hustler gets.
True.
Now it's a Starbucks.
Okay. Oh, wow. So it did go through a transformation.
Now it's a Whole Foods.
Okay.
But that's not just there in New York. That's across the country. Look at Detroit now. You know, you go down to Detroit, down like Woodward, you see, like you say, white people running and jogging and walking. 80s, 90s, that was unheard of. 2000s.
DC by Howard University. 14th for you, 13th for you. Now you're seeing white people walk their dogs at Howard University.
But think about it though, Donnie. Look, like how they gentrified is the prices in the neighborhoods go so low because the violence and the crime be driving the prices of the property down. And then they come in and grab it, then renovate some properties, and the property is sky high. Now the people that live there can't buy them no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
And not just white people, it's Indians and Chinese, and you know, it's all types of people at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's a free for all now. Mm-hmm. I guess we're a little bit older. We remember when it was just a dual game, when it was just simple black and white. You know,
right now it's a whole nother lick.
Right.
So I got a question for y'all.
Yes, sir.
Since you want to get philosophical, do feelings have value?
Absolutely.
Let's say you feel indigenous, but you may not be. Does your feeling have any value?
Hell no. Because you feeling Jewish, you can take somebody's land. Kind of antithetical to the whole concept of the chosen people, isn't it? Because I thought the chosen people would be like the most godliest people on earth. I thought.
You would think so.
No, that's what it means to be the chosen people.
You would think so.
Oh, no, that's what it is. And you actually got to have some melanin in your skin from what I've studied. You can't leave a nation black and come back not black and expect, you ever drink real coffee and then take out the caffeine?
Decaf, yeah.
Well, it ain't no coffee. It's no longer coffee.
It's just flavored water.
I think the value in having the feeling that you're indigenous and maybe not be is the fight that we fight now. It leads to the situations that we have currently. I think that's what I've been trying to express over the few weeks of how important it is to know from whence you come. You get what I mean? And on all levels, no matter if you're a religious fanatic or you philosophical or anything, you got to know from whence you come, So I think it hurts those who are indigenous for those who maybe not be indigenous to have that type of feeling. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, indigenous is related to the region. So whoever they are, they're indigenous somewhere. So the question is whether or not their idea or feelings of being indigenous to this particular area has any truth to it or not. But they're indigenous to something.
But then, you flip that with Planet, that in order to be indigenous anywhere, you have to be looking like us.
Period. Because that's the oldest man on the planet, correct?
Correct.
Well, that's a mix between indigenous and aboriginal.
See, and that word kind of gets me too, because when you take both of them, the word ab, the prefix the prefix of ab is kind of throw away from original. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Against
right. It being original. So when people say I'm aboriginal, you're not saying that you the person, the first people group that was there. That's when I say indigenous, I'm talking about the first people groups. You get what I mean?
And in order to know that, that's a lot of going back, right?
Not really, because how you could tell by certain, like here on this part of the world, by certain tribes that been in that region, or you go back into Africa, certain tribes that traveled the Sahara and got certain genetic markers left in certain places. You get what I mean?
But possibly we're going back so far in time. Could we ever really know the total truth, especially considering how a lot of these scientists, non-black, twist the results?
Yeah. One thing that with African Americans, with us, that we do got the oldest ancient DNA.
And we keep getting others keep wanting to write us out the story. That's my real issue. Why do you keep trying to write me out of my damn story? And who are you? And what rock did you crawl from under?
But do that go back to what Peter was just saying? To write you out to the story, to have this feeling of being
that's their pattern.
That's what I'm saying, because they have a pattern. They're gonna do it.
They got a pattern.
Yeah, pretty soon they're gonna say we were the ones who did this, or like they say now that those who they brung as enslaved people here, they came to work. This is what they teach in the Texas school system. Not that they came as enslaved, that they came here to work. You see how the word work just make it seem look like it's okay.
No, this country was built on trafficking. This country was built on rape. This country was built on murder. This country was built on terrorism and capitalism. What do you say, Planet?
I think that's accurate.
Nothing holy about these people. Nothing, manifest destiny. Nothing religious. Nothing elevated about the thinking. Pure savage, take the land, rape the women, kill the men.
And it was multiracial. That's the part that a lot of people don't want to look at.
Some of the enemy look like us.
I think that's probably the reason why collectively don't nobody want to take the blame of slavery. because it was a confederation of people, and it was like you say, Donnie, it was people that looked like us. And then through history, we can call out the certain tribes that did it, and then in history, we can call out the certain native tribes that did it as well here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, call them out.
So who in West Africa were the ones who were enslaving people, were the ones who wore the fezzes? That's the information right there. Enough for a lot of people. When you look at the people that wore the fezzes, those were the ones who was in confederation with the British. Those was the ones who had that was holding the slaves over there. You get what I mean?
Now, explain to the viewers what a fez is, in case they don't know.
A fez is like if you see, like when I first saw it, I seen it on like the Shriners and people like that. Like the it's like it looked burgundy. It looked like if you remember, like it looked like a cup upside down with a black tassel or gold tassel, right, whatever color tassel on it. So you'll see that. Head. Yeah, you'll see like if you go through history, you'll see old, not paintings, but drawings of these people in, like over in what's his name? Diallo is in Fouta de Jalon, Fouta Djallon. It's a story about them, about him being captured as a slave. He was a prince. And he got captured, and he was a slave down in Louisiana. And I forgot the white guy name. His name is come on now, I'm gonna get it for you. I'm gonna get the story. But the story is that the white guy came and told the president that he was enslaved there. So the president freed him and his wife, but his 12 children stayed as slaves down in Louisiana. What's his name? I'm gonna get it. I got my dog is bothering me now, so my mind is on something else. But
hey, Ghost.
Hey, go sit down. Bye. Go home. Yeah. Hold on. Let me look through my studies, because there's a lot of people in the DNA group that descend from them down in Louisiana. And trying to remember his name. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go home and look real quick.
So I got one for you. Who was it in the chat? Lindell Jefferson. He wanted us to,
my man,
talk about Tecumseh.
My man.
We haven't seen our boys Mafia and Horace for a minute. We pray all is well.
We do.
You know Tecumseh, Peter?
Yes. Tecumseh. I believe it was before the time of Pontiac.
They call him the prophet.
And he had a brother. Yeah, they call him the prophet. He had a brother who was with him as well. All right, you ready to pick up?
Yes, sir. His name was Prince Ibrahim Sori, and he was from Fouta Jalon, and he became a slave here, and they freed him. The president freed him. His last name Sori, S-O-R-I, and it's a lot of quote unquote African Americans, us, that descend from them people with the last name Diallo, S-O-W. What other name? There's a few of them, but I know that for sure that he was a prince, and the president at the time freed him down in Louisiana, and he had him and his wife. I don't know if his wife was native or not, but they left 12 children down there. So that was the conclusion of what I was saying prior. His name was Prince Ibrahim Sori.
Mm. So yeah, Tecumseh was from the Eastern Woodlands. He was Shawnee. Yeah. Shawnee were partly in Maryland. Mm-hmm. And he spoke of unity, trying to bring everybody together in order to fight the white man. And he was only moderately successful because Indians are inherently difficult to govern or difficult to convince of stuff. The way the governments were set up, they were highly bureaucratic. He also had to raise, braves and stuff to go fight with him. And I guess at the time it was really difficult. But he was killed. What was that? Was that the Battle of Tippecanoe or just after that? I don't know, but he was killed in battle.
I know that Tecumseh is one of us as well. Tecumseh had a Muskogee mother, if you look at it. When Tecumseh was fleeing, he fled down to Alabama. He did a speech in 1813, right before Andrew Jackson and them came in. That's why we call Upper Creek's Red Sticks. Those was the ones who rebelled because he came down.
Ah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And he did it. He is a famous speech. He came to what they call it. We call it Oche, O-C-E. That means nut or hickory nut. That we call it hickory ground down in Alabama. So that's a famous mother site town, down a historic site of the Muskogees. So when you talk about the Shawnee, they extended from the Gulf all the way up to Upper Michigan. He even has Tecumseh came here, right here outside of Detroit. It's a Tecumseh, Michigan. You get what I mean? It's a Muskegon, Michigan. And the word Muskegon and Muskogee got the same meaning. So I'm up here trying to see, do it originate from the same people? You get what I mean? Talking about the muskrat. That's what they talk about. Muskegon and Muskogee, talking about the swamp muskrat. So I'm real familiar with the Shawnee Tecumseh. So when you talk about him, you also got to talk about them Uchis. And like you said, they was up in Maryland, so they took the Maryland Algonquin tribes that was fleeing them confederations and brought them south to the Muskogee Confederation. That's what I've been trying to explain and get a proof behind and show people. If you just do the research on it, you will see it. You get what I mean? You will see that the Uchie is from up that way too, but they down in Alabama, they down in Florida and Georgia. The word Savannah, Georgia is Sewanee. That means Shawnee. Shawnee, that's, how is Savannah named after the Shawnee if the Shawnee wasn't down with the Muskogee? Tecumseh's mother was a Muskogee woman. Right there, Sylacauga is a Shawnee town, right in Alabama. Sylacauga is a Shawnee word. That's only 5 minutes from where my people come from. Right there down the road. So when I be talking about Sylacauga, Coosa, so my people was the gatekeepers of the Muskogee tribe, meaning the leaders. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the ones from, when I say Coosa, for anybody that's Muskogee, they know that's the ancient people. When I say Abika, they know that's the doorkeepers. When I talk about Natchez, they know that's the ones that came from Chichen Itza down there that built the pyramids that came up to Alabama and Georgia. So, anybody want to prove me wrong, do the research on it.
Is the image on the screen a modern rendition of Tecumseh?
I think they said that they don't got no images of them. I think all this is conjecture. There's really no pictures of them.
Of course. Mm-hmm. But that's who this is supposed to
signify.
Okay.
But if you look at like his earrings and you look at them shields, that's old, like ancient regalia, what they call regalia, right? Mm-hmm. Am I speaking right, Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So like that's why they was said that they were like Hebrews, because they had these ancient regalias. And how could they get them? And they did these certain ceremonies at certain times of the year. Why were they doing it? Why were they saying certain words? You get what I mean? So it's a deep rabbit hole when we talk about indigenous history on this side of the world, and then connecting it with the African history on that side of the world. You can't separate the two. You get what I mean? Because Columbus himself, in his diary, spoke of it.
Right.
And see, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter.
But I was just going to point out his ear. Now, as I understand it, the ear for Peacemaker was cut along the ridge all the way down. And so if the person had violated the peace, their ear could be torn, just the outside part of it. But
I had a study about him. I know it was his brother. I think it was about 6 or 7 of them. And his brother was the religious arm, the peaceful.
right.
Tecumseh had to come up here in Michigan to get his brother to come down to Alabama to do a ceremony down there with the water. It got something to do with the water when before they go into war and stuff. So that's what Tecumseh and his brothers and them did, like in 1813 when they came down there.
Yeah.
Formed this ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I knew his brother was something, but
Yeah.
to have arrows and quills running through your ear means, yeah, you're a great warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is one of the things when you talk about gun control that the whites missed, is the fact that in Native American culture, you could tell who was packing.
I want to share a little bit of history with you guys and why it's important that we have this show. Now, this is a clip, a closer look at the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Okay? And this is, here you go.
I would have a little conversation for you today related to Andrew Jackson and the Indian Removal Act. I'm Erin Adams, the director. Shober Hammer is our schools coordinator. Shober, you and I have both had a chance to teach Indian removal to a lot of different audiences, adults and children. What has stood out to you over time about the questions that visitors often bring to the subject of Indian removal?
I think a lot of visitors want to know about, like, how is Jackson coming into the presidency? What kind of reputation does he have? What are people expecting out of him when it comes to Indian removal?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people come at it too with this idea that Jackson must come with a lot of fury or a lot of anger towards Native Americans or a lot of hatred towards Native Americans, because why would you do this otherwise? And that doesn't seem to really be the case. And his reasoning for it is really calmly structured, you know? It's what always stands out to me in that list, because, you know, he does like one comment and then a sentence, 2 comment and sentence. I mean, he might as well bullet pointed it for us. You know, one of the things he says that always catches my attention is that it will help them preserve their own heritage and traditions. Yeah, I think the easy.
Andrew Jackson wanted to help us preserve our own heritage and tradition. The clip was going kind of fast, but that's the mindset of a colonist. Did you catch it?
Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't come to remove you. We come to preserve you. But you just have to live down here in the swamps of Florida, in the Everglades. Hey, Planet, we don't hate you. We're trying to preserve your legacy.
Yeah, just like you put meat in the freezer.
So let me throw some history out there for everybody. They speak in a kind of partial truth in their world, in their mind, because you did have European colonists or traders that did have native mothers, like when I talk about like White Sticks or Lower Creeks, or people like McIntosh, or people like McGilvery and stuff like this. So when you talk about Andrew Jackson coming into Alabama, he came in there with the Cherokee leader, Junaluska. He came in there with the White Stick Creek leader, McIntosh and all his people. And that's how you get so-called Seminoles. The Seminoles ain't nothing but Yamasee Native Americans from South Carolina, or Guale people, or Miccosukee Indians that fled from the Carolinas over into Georgia, into Alabama. This is what history is. This, when you say a Seminole, that's what a runaway is.
In case people don't know, we're talking about Andrew Jackson, who signed the Indian Removal Act on May 28th, 1830. It authorized the forced relocation of Native American tribes from the southeastern U.S. to the land west of the Mississippi River. They call that Indian Territory. It aimed to open millions of acres to white settlement, resulting in the forced removal of 60,000 people and the deadly Trail of Tears. So no, this is Andrew Jackson preserving your history, violently, forcefully removing your ass.
The reason why I'm so passionate about it, that's where my people come from. I come from Tallapoosa, New Site, Coosa. That's my people. When they talk about Tallapoosa, Horseshoe Bend, they talking about us. When they talk about the Indians there, they talking about us. This is why I'm passionate about it. You get what I mean? When I'm speaking this, I'm telling you who is all of them. That's why I know about Tecumseh and all of them coming down. That's why I know about the northern tribes. You know what I'm saying? We the biggest southeastern, if you're talking about as a whole, the Muskogee is, or the Muskogee speaking people. Even when you talk about the Chickasaw and the Choctaw, we supposed to be their older brother. We supposed to have been birthed first. They even said it in their tradition.
I don't plug this book enough, but in I Am Black Wall Street, I talk about Chief John Horse. You know about Chief John Horse, Peter?
No.
Chief John Horse was down in Florida, and he fought alongside the Seminoles. They called him Gopher John. And they fought the likes of Andrew Jackson all the way to the Everglades. They fought to a truce, Chief John Horse. And the whites gave him territory in what is now Oklahoma. They went out there. He was the first melanated group that came from Florida to Indian territory. They didn't like it. They ended up moving through Texas, building black towns along the way. There are over 500 black towns in East Texas, and this is 1843. Went through Texas and became the border patrol for Mexico, Nacimiento, Mexico. They still celebrate Juneteenth today on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I Am Black Wall Street, a quick read.
They call them El Negros Mascagos. That's what they call them. And Nacimiento. El Negros Mascagos or the Muskogos. That's what they call them. You know what I mean?
And this is something that's coming up more and more. And mind you, I'm just a rookie in this. Hannibal would be the scholar on this show. But I ask people all the time, why do you think there was a one-drop rule? And people never say land. At the end of the day, we never say land. Why do you think there was a one-drop rule, Peter? Why do you think there was a one-drop rule, Planet? And invariably the discussion, they wanted to, people want to say, and this is where our mind goes, they wanted to institutionalize racism. No! They wanted your grandma's land. You already had your 40 acres.
I think that is a deeper dive too, Donnie.
Come on,
you gotta think that when this country was under the Union and the Confederacy, it was two different nations, and then when the Confederacy lost, it became another nation. So before then, it was several nations here. So you're talking about different governments, different ideologies and strategies that was occurring simultaneously back then. I want people to really understand what I'm getting at is that's why like the first flag of the United States is not the red, white, and blue flag. That's a war flag. The first flag is a white flag with black stars and red borders. That's the peace flag. You know what I mean? That's when it was a democracy or I think it was a republic or democracy, either one. You get what I mean? The meanings behind the democracies and republics that we got to understand. What is a republic? Why California is a republic? Why Texas got its status that it has? Why these states can actually be the only states that can withdraw from the Union? You get what I mean? Meaning that they can be their own country at any time. See, people don't understand where we at or what's going on here. You get what I mean? Because they think it's just plain and simple because we are straightforward people. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that Doni mentioned was the word preserve. So let's, look at that a little bit. I put the analogy of meat in the freezer that you are preserving. All right. Now, when you preserve something, you stop its growth, right? So you become a museum piece as opposed to a live entity. So the preserving ritual is deeper than it looks, because it also stunts the culture, right, to that specific time. So you find that the youth always looks at it from the perspective of, shit, I don't want to go back to those days. You see what I'm saying? Because they've already got the mindset that that's where their culture exists.
Mm.
But you're living now in this time. So you have to rescue the culture, but not the stunted one, the evolved one for this time.
I agree. And I was thinking of something kind of similar towards that too, like, you know, living in the past and we live currently. That's why, even if you notice that any new invention or anything is basically something of old, basically modified. You know, it's like you can't recreate the wheel. That's why it'll always be advantageous for any group of people to grow their own food and to clean their own water, or any person to eat natural foods and drink water.
Basics.
The basics, you know.
Let me ask you, is it difficult to answer this question here? My question is, the Cherokee, the $5 pretendians are, and are they the ones who sided with the U.S.? And Hannibal, your answer would be yes. And why?
I would say this. It was those who had Scottish ancestry, meaning high Scottish ancestry, like the Macintoshes. Because if you look at the Macintoshes,
I want you to follow me, Hannibal. I don't want you to get lost.
I get you.
Why would they cause the fighting that they are struggling from today? I guess why would you play against? Why would you side against your own people? Is that hard to figure out what happened?
I think that's a ploy. I think that they got people thinking that they've been misused or mistreated. No, being out there in Oklahoma is for them siding with Andrew Jackson. It's period. You know what I'm saying? The Creeks that's out there, those were the white sticks that sided with Andrew Jackson. Proof in the pudding.
So is sided a fair word, or could you say they just said the hell with it? I'm tired of fighting.
I mean that if you can't beat them, join them. That type.
Or if every time you swing, somebody hits you back 30 times and you ain't got no recourse, yeah, you can keep fighting and then all y'all gonna be gone. So at some point, I mean, words can be tricky. Like Chief John Horse. There were Seminoles down in Florida who were mad at him because he took the land deal. The ones who stayed at Fort with their backs all the way to the Everglades, they didn't appreciate what Chief John Horse did. His thought was, I gotta save my people. And look, if they're gonna give me land out in Oklahoma, I'm gonna take it. Was he wrong? Hold up. Was he wrong?
Hell yeah.
He was wrong?
Hell yeah. It's irony in it because look at this.
He was wrong for wanting to live.
Because look, if
I stay here, I'ma die. If I go over there, I got a chance to live. You saying you would have died.
In order to live, you gotta have something to die for.
Hey, I'm saying that was that man's choice. You saying you would have died.
He'd rather sell out his whole. He'd rather sell out his whole nation for him to live.
How you gonna say sell out? They done whipped your ass at every corner.
Let them whip it.
You did. There are no more of you.
Peep this game though on the same tip.
No. You're dead. There's nothing you can do.
I'm about to explain something to you. Like with the Creeks. It was they had a confederation, and one of the articles was that if you sell the land, you get murdered. The very guy, McIntosh, was the one who signed that and made that a law. And he turned around and sold the land. So you get your people.
Was he a black man?
His mother was part. His mother was a native.
Who did he side with? Did he side with
He
helping
sided with
melanated
he was-
people
he
or the
was
whites?
with the whites. It's documented with him.
So
with
he's
George
an enemy.
Washington.
He sold you out.
But that's what I'm saying, though. The very
but it's-
person.
That's the difference in you saying, hey, I'm going to preserve my people. Whatever we got to do to survive, we going over here. Chief John Horse didn't like it in Oklahoma. He continued and led his people all the way to Mexico. That's a freedom fighter to me. Because his people
I know
are
about
still
John
alive.
Horse. I know his name.
Huh?
I know his people. I know his name.
Okay, but they alive.
They alive because, check it out. They ain't alive because he was this. They're alive because when he got out there in Oklahoma with McIntosh and his people, they was treating their ass bad.
And he left.
Yeah, he got up and he left down there. What I'm
Don't
saying,
that make him a hero?
he could have stayed. The reason why he could have been in Alabama too. He was part of that freedom fight.
I wasn't back there. You weren't back there. You didn't have to make that decision. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. What would you have done? What would you have done?
You're missing what I'm saying, Don.
I'm not missing what you said. You said you would have stayed there and died.
I said I would have stayed there and fought. My people was there. My people still there
fight.
today.
They did fight.
So what? So we there today.
Okay, he chose to preserve
today.
life and take his people somewhere else where it was safe.
What
and
I'm
I don't
saying,
see
Donnie,
that as being
hear me
wrong.
out, Donnie. You got Creeks that are alive that stayed behind today. It would have been
I don't know
the
them.
same
I
situation
don't know
today for him. That's the reason. You got us
They
as
did that for
African
him?
Americans now.
They stayed for him.
No, what I'm saying to you is that we're African Americans now, the ones who stayed behind.
Oh man,
you get it? You
man,
get
we
what I mean?
gonna get in a fight whether we here or over there.
I'm not saying that his fight is wrong, Donnie. You're saying it's totally different. I'm saying he could have stayed there and fought there too.
But you weren't there to tell him what he could have or should have done.
He was part of them Lord Creeks that benefited out there in Oklahoma. He went out there with them and found out that he wasn't one of them and left and went
I don't think he went out there and found that out. He knew he wasn't one of them.
That's facts. That's facts about the Creek Nation.
I'm not talking about the Creek Nation. I'm talking about Chief John Horse.
He comes from the Creek Nation. He was one of the chiefs.
He preserved his people's lives. They are alive. Stayed. He felt they would have died. He was tired of seeing his people die. And if saving your people's lives is bad, I'll be bad.
I said this if to save your people.
I don't know about the Creeks, the Scottish, or any of that. I know if it's my job to preserve my people's lives, I'm going to preserve them. If staying here mean we die, yeah, we got to go. We ain't got enough. We got to regroup. That's me. I'll fall back.
Well, every great leader from that time had to go through that dilemma, whether it was Geronimo or Sitting Bull or Chief Joseph. They all opted to, abandon their homeland and try to survive somehow. And they were on the run, as were so many of the Eastern tribes, just on the run to find any place of sanctuary. Because you got to remember, in the Eastern Band times, part of the reason they were saying Andrew Jackson was trying to preserve the Indians is because the settlers would kill Indians like roaches, man. They didn't care. If they saw you, you were dead. And that was before Indian removal, which just kind of codified that. Because if you didn't go to Oklahoma, you were dead. They'd kill you. And it would be perfectly legal. So, yeah, after the Indian Removal Act. So I gotta agree with Donnie on this one, man. You gotta run to preserve yourself. You gotta start running.
So that goes like if you're a religious person, you know what I'm saying? I guess it's just me, the fighter in me, because what dominion you have, what man quality if you have, if you willing to go ahead and give up everything your people, not just you, or just a couple hundred or a couple thousand of you wanted to do to survive. But you had hundreds of thousands of people down there. You have people that stayed behind, and they know people that stayed behind, but they won't even call them Creeks, Muskogee now. They won't even recognize you now. You get what I mean? So that's the anger that you probably see in me, because it's real. It's like, okay, you rather live and to live another day to get these benefits, but sell out your people. You know different than them. Period. You know different than them. And that's the issue. That's when we say the enemy looks like us. That's part of being the enemy, and people don't even know. People are doing thinking it's advantageous to them, and then they become an enemy to the whole. Right?
That is what happens. That's how Sitting Bull got killed.
Yeah. No, I'm just talking about with any. It don't have to be a native leader, or it don't have to be an indigenous leader. It had to be. This had to be with any group of people. When you have one entity that sells out the group for the betterment of the group, and it usually be not the group. It usually be the family or the family circle.
Hannibal.
That's
Yes,
West
sir.
Africa.
Hannibal, what's the major intersection in Detroit?
What you saying? Shit, what? Grand River, Greenfield, Grand River, Southfield.
There's somebody coming up Grand River and somebody coming down Grand River. And one of them got a 38 and the other one don't have one. And the one with the 38 say, give me your damn money or I'm going to take your life. Do you have any recourse? Do you fight back? That 38 is in their face.
Yeah,
Do you fight back?
I think the stakes ain't high enough.
Do you fight back?
I'm gonna tell you, the stakes ain't high enough. What if you in your house and you ain't have a gun and a man coming there, you got your wife and kids in there? Hell yeah, I'm gonna fight. Now
that ain't the question. That 38 right there in your face.
Yeah, I'm saying the 38 in my face with my wife and children, I'm gonna fight.
That wasn't the scenario.
Yeah, we down the street. That's nothing to fight for. It's nothing to fight for.
Hannibal, at some point, if somebody got you, what you gonna do? You can fight and die. And somebody chose to live because we are here today.
Yeah, what I'm saying, the stakes was high.
We here today because somebody chose to live.
The stakes was high back then, Donnie. They was being enslaved. They was getting murdered. You had people that
we died. We fought dying.
Yeah, we got family members that fought dying. We come from people that
not just your family.
I said
your
we.
Family wasn't the only one back there. We were all fighting.
The word "we" is inclusive of all. The word "we" is not me.
There were a lot of us who were fighting.
I said we. It was we. A lot of we was fighting, and it was a lot of we that sold it out. That's the reason why today is trying to find us.
You act like we had a lot of options. That's what I'm saying.
We did. Look, Johnny, we did. Listen, what the pressure that you saying was put on the natives was not put on the natives. That's what I'm saying.
I know what's going on today.
Yeah, when you go through the history of the Cherokee,
I know what's going on today. The president of Venezuela, freedom fighter, right? For his people or whomever, they snatched him. Why did they snatch him? Because they had bigger guns and a better army. They took him. That's it.
We had guns and army. We had guns too, brother.
And we lost.
Right. So what's the fight now?
Survival.
I'm saying what is the continuation of the fight today? If it is nothing to fight for. If you were just
I never said that.
No, I'm just talking about. I ain't saying you. I'm saying a person would easily turn it over when they see that they're being
easily, man. You know all the people that bled and died.
Well, yeah, listen, I was one of them. I'm first to go. I'm documented. I've been across seas. I've been in war.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do it.
I live in Baltimore. It's a war zone every day.
Well, I'm saying a lot of times
it
be conjecture by folks about being in the real deal. I'd have been in the real deal. I'd have been in the shit.
Okay, you know I've seen the Middle East up close. I've seen Africa up close.
Fight for mine. I know that the spirit that them people had back then to stay there and fight would be the spirit that I take today.
Okay.
Let's go back to the original question. Now, what is a $5 Indian or pretend Indian? I mean, because people may
that
not
paid
know.
to get rights.
Paid to get what? White?
People who paid to get rights.
Okay.
Paid to get their name on the rolls. Is that correct, Hannibal?
Yeah, in certain tribes, like I said, them tribes that sided with them people that was mixed Europeans, that was head of the tribes. They had Europeans that wanted to be part of them, so they sold part of their stuff. They negotiated this. They ain't just coming there with these people just coming in and just become a $5 Indian. These people let them in there. What is what I'm saying? When you go through history and see it, that's
what does it have to do with $5?
Because it costs $5 to get on the roll. Like back then, like they had the tax, like to vote you had to pay to go down.
Heard of that, Peter? $5 Indians.
I've heard of it, but I just think some of the viewers haven't heard it, and you got to clarify the story. I don't remember the story of the $5 Indians, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
I knew that.
It's coming back to me now. They paid $5 to get on the roll in anticipation of getting
like the Dawes rolls. Is that correct, Hannibal?
Yeah. So look at this. So 1832, they walked the Trail of Tears. 1866, 34 years later, they come up with these roles of who gonna be Indian or not. A generation later, you know what I'm saying? It takes a generation is 25 years. What I'm saying is that
15.
A baby born in 1832 would have been 34 years old by the time the new treaties came around. He would have been living in a whole different world. He'd have been a kid to an adult living in a whole different world.
Hannibal, that's an easy simplification of history.
How you simplify? What I'm saying is that when they walked out there in
because there were a lot of things going on that we don't know.
You know what I'm saying? How the $5 Indian came. 1832, they walk out there. 1866, these treaties came out.
Okay, in that time you just jumped from the 25 to the 60s.
Yeah.
Chief John Horse was 1843.
So they was out there 9 years, 10, 11 years. They was out there 11 years before.
And then he moved to Mexico, however long. I'm not sure of the exact timeline. What I do know is he preserved his people's lives. And what I'm saying is if you out your neighborhood and you come up across 15 cats and they trying to take your money, stay there and fight 15. Unless you Bruce Lee, I suggest you hightail it about a Dodge.
I'm not going to go against my
kids. You can regroup. And
I
don't think that's running. I think that's survival.
I'm not going to go against
the Army, the Marines. Or
I might say he a coward, but I'm not going to go against. I might say a coward. Listen to me, Johnny. I might say he a coward, but I know he my kinfolks because he come from the area I come from. Look at his history. He come from the same area that I'm preaching that my kinfolks is native from. What I'm trying to tell you is the same people.
You weren't there, and you don't know what you would have done unless you got in that situation.
You got whole groups of Muskogee freemen and Muskogee red sticks that's hinging their whole existence on right here because they sold the land. You got them freemen out there and red sticks or the Alabama Cusada. Or what's his name? Top Cats. That's one of our people that been on here. He's one of the ones that got sold out in this shit that we talking about right here.
You're acting like we had a lot of options. If these people got bigger guns, are better organized, and we are disorganized, that's what happened.
Listen, the option is for us to
what you hold up. You can't over romanticize what you do after you've been got. You're surviving. That's what you're doing. If you ever been in a fight and it's the 11th round and the cat is dinging you in the grill, the best thing you might be able to do is hold on. He hitting harder than you.
But some people will win by all costs, right? Some people will win by all costs.
I've been in a fight. That I've been in.
I'm talking about some people win by all costs, even if they lose.
Dead is dead. My daddy was Undertaker. You ain't doing nothing on that slab.
I ain't saying the person.
You're dead.
Listen, Johnny. The thing is, this the thing. It ain't about life or death. We talking about what's important. You know what I mean? to a group of people. When you talk about these indigenous people, their land was important to them. It meant more than any one person's life. When you go back and you look at these leaders, they didn't care about their own personal life. They didn't care about that.
I
They cared
wasn't
about their
there,
people.
and I don't
Now-
know.
Come on, look at the historic accounts, or even for what they say or what the outsiders say. These folks fought to the end because they didn't want to give up their stuff.
Now let me say this. Let me say this. You know, it came out that in the discussion, this you weren't there, right? So you know there's particulars that you wouldn't know. Now, from my perspective, right, was your DNA there? And if your DNA was there, you could have them feelings. Okay. And if your personal preference is that of a warrior, you're going to have that energy of your people, of your tribe to this day, because the pipeline is the DNA, right? So, you know, as Peter had the previous question of feelings, right? Well, there are feelings that come from the outside, and there are feelings that come from the inside. Hmm? And those inside ones are invisible feelings, and I say the pipeline of those feelings are the DNA.
Genetic memory, like people ever had deja vu?
Correct. So a lot of times when you say, well, we were conquered because we weren't unified, right? Well, that also relates totally to the enemy, because the enemy is not is a different type of person that they had never encountered. You know, their sense of spirituality, their sense of warfare, their sense of all kind of stuff, right? So even in United States history, or early American history, as it relates to the colonialists, there was the Minutemen, which was a totally different type, right? So when you're in war, you know, as opposed to the British, who would line up and all that, you know. So, you know, war is as violent as it is, it's also creative. So there's all different types of techniques, all different types. Some will go this way, some will go that way, some will compromise, some will come back, right? But once again, when you have your cultural understanding preserved, you can only keep it in the freezer. When you take it out of the freezer, you know, you got to deal with this world now, right? Fortunately, there's nothing that can corrupt your DNA. It's there. Your access to it, or your window to understand the knowledge that is there, that takes work. You have to have a real desire to do that. But in terms of that information that's on your hard drive, that's there, right? So when we're looking at history, we should also include DNA.
Right. That goes back to earlier. I sent Donnie's a conversation, and I just found out like in February this year, Mexico made a amendment to their constitution, and they was talking about Afro-Indigenous people, and they said Afro-Indigenous is one and the same, and this is in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So us doing the show that we're doing, trying to give information to prove it, another country south of us then already quantified it and put it in their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people can look it up, Mexican Constitution, Article 2, Parts A and B, A and C, and look up Afro-Indigenous with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you say, the preservation is a lot of people that's doing the work to preserve, and and I hope the work that we are doing will be preserved. You know what I'm saying? And people do their own work, because the story is even deeper than this. But the thing is, you have to know, you know what I'm saying, the things that occurred. So a lot of I've tried to find some of the videos, but a lot of the videos is in Spanish. But they go in Article 2, Part A goes into like what is the definition of indigenous and the rights of indigenous people, meaning that they can come together as a group and govern themselves and make their own laws. And then Part C, it covers the Afro-Indigenous, which say Part A covers them as well. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things in terms of conquest, right? Most of the times you can trace conquest to technology, right?
Right.
So in this current scenario, in this time right now, right, there is a war going on in the Middle East, right? And what was the first thing that either Israel or the United States or Russia do, or Ukraine do? They take their technology, and they try to take out who they deem as an enemy's technology. Well, the same thing happened here. Unified or not unified, they came with the technology, right? And they overpowered many with the technology, right? So now we have a situation, right, where there is a new technology that has been introduced, right, which is AI, right, which is computer technology taken to on steroids, right?
Right.
And it is creating a new age, right?
Right.
But that's the new war, right?
Yeah.
And that the reason why they call it listen for it, AI, right?
Right.
Artificial intelligence.
Right.
That's the new war. So we must cultivate a strong sense of being to confront the new enemy, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, they're not stunted. They're not in the freezer. they've been rolling ever since.
Right.
Right. So it's a balancing. You know, we have to be there
And be
as
here.
our DNA uh, uh, proves who we are, but we also have to be here dealing with the new trick.
So that's why I say, like most people I talk to, even most older people our age, I say 40 and above, 45 and above. A lot of them is more afraid of it. They see the potential or the rabbit hole we can go down. But what I see that too. What I'm saying is that each generation had new technology that came on, and you gotta ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? That's just like, my father, he was kind of scared of ATM cards and debit cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, and this is an everyday occurrence that we do now. And just imagine another 10, 15 years from now, everything going to be artificial intelligence. If you got an iPhone now, if you got a 17, it's artificial intelligence. Your text messages, everything is got the AI on it.
And I just want to share some of this information that you brought to our attention, if you will.
Okay.
And then we're being joined by a special guest, Dr. Al Hathaway. You shared with us about how in Mexico, I messed that all up. What did I do the thing here? Man, I done messed up. I had the whole document up. Anyway, about preserving history. Dr. Hathaway, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. How you doing there? Y'all keep it rolling all the time, 24/7.
Yes, sir.
There
How
you
you
go.
doing?
Hey, bless y'all.
So Hannibal,
right.
Dr. Hathaway has the Thurgood Marshall Center. He and his team renovated the school where Thurgood Marshall went to school, Public School 103 here in Baltimore, in an area that he's actually helping preserve by securing land and properties around this historic part where our civil rights history in Baltimore is anchored. He's just Friday put the windows in. If you've ever heard of Perrin Mitchell, the Mitchell family, they had a law office on a corner, a block from the center. And so those are some of the things that he is doing to preserve melanated history here in the city of Baltimore. Dr. Hathaway, welcome to the show.
Great. How you doing there? Man, I know y'all got a hot conversation going on. I just popped in just for a moment.
Tell them what's going on tomorrow morning.
One of the things that we're doing at the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center, people don't realize that Thurgood Marshall went there in elementary school. He was there for 7 years. He skipped a grade. He was a kind of precocious student, but he would get in trouble. And he would, his principal would send him downstairs and give him a copy of the Constitution to read. Years later, Justice Marshall would say that because of that experience, he had learned the Constitution by heart when he graduated from elementary school. And so we believe it's important that we allow for the next generation to begin to reenact those cases, those stories, that they learn civics, they learn legal case law. And so tomorrow, April the 20th, we're going to have a reenactment of the Brown versus Board case, the Topeka, Kansas case, the case that he actually lost. He didn't appeal that case, which went to the Supreme Court in 1954, which became Brown versus Board. He changed his argument when he went to the Supreme Court and won that case, which changed the face of education. But one of the things that we're going to do is that we're going to have students from Braybrook Elementary and Middle School. They're going to be the actors. They're going to act. They're going to be Justice Marshall. They're going to be Clarence Hamilton Houston. They're going to be the various personalities that were plaintiffs in the case, as well as the Brown family. And we're going to have judges from the appellate bench that's actually going to sit there and listen and rule on the case. So it's really a way to teach civics in a real way. Our goal at the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center is to inform, to inspire, and to empower. And we believe we do. We believe we do that by allowing young people to learn real time.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
When you mention Thurgood Marshall and his history here in the city of Baltimore and his impact nationally. There's some names that we better put in here before we get into trouble, like Professor Larry Gibson.
Oh, it's no question. One of the things that this is the mantra. Justice Thurgood Marshall should be to Baltimore as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is to Atlanta.
Mm.
And if you begin to look at the 1300 block of Drill Avenue, the 1300 block of Division Street, that square block, in terms of civil rights history. In fact, Reverend Jesse Jackson said that Baltimore is the capital of the civil rights movement. When you think that the efforts there predated what we know as modern civil rights. And so you have three churches for which our HBCUs came out of: Sharp Street, Morgan, Bowie out of Union Baptist, Coppin out of Bethel. Those three churches sit in what we now call Baltimore's Freedom Square. And one of the things that we're doing, and this is really comes, and you're right, Professor Larry Gibson gave us the roadmap because he wrote the book Young Thurgood Marshall that actually trailed his footsteps in the Upton community. And by following his footsteps, that gives us a real roadmap for how we can train and teach the next generation of persons. Because not only did Thurgood Marshall, but his classmate was Cab Calloway. So you got two of the major personalities emerging as young people out of this community, which says to us, and we say to our young people, that greatness begins here and that greatness begins in you as well.
Good deal. Gentlemen, you have any questions? Oh, I wanted to tell you that Peter is Cab Calloway's grandson.
I know it. I know Peter, man. Peter, we got some conversation because your grandfather went to PS 103.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, my stepfather, Mr.
Stepfather.
Murphy?
No,
Yeah.
Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy went to PS 103. In fact, I was talking to your mother, her dear blessed spirit. She is a sainted president among us. She was holding his report card for me. I never got a chance to get it from her.
Yeah, I got to dig that up for you.
I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Okay, well, Red, we'll be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to capture the program. Anyone listening will be 10 o'clock at 1315 Division Street here in Baltimore.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Y'all be careful.
Okay.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
joining us.
Be blessed now.
Thank you.
Be
Yes, sir.
blessed. That's
Just a
awesome.
little bit of history. Well, they burning up in the comments. This is what my blood bursting out to go back the old way. This is Hercules. I bet it's not. They were rolling in here. Is your skin black? The great son. Awesome exercise. Reverend Michael King. And Doc Gable, I'm sorry you find Thurgood Marshall to be a bigger coon. I don't think that way at all. My ancestors don't have religion. We worship sun, celebrating full moon, the sun for showing his light at night. Weak lack of discipline. When John Horse, by leaving, made the U.S. stop warring with our ancestors, and today a lot of them are still there, and they still have their lands, some of them. I mean, it's like watching Monday Night Football. Tuesday morning, you can say you would have did this, you would have did that. My thing is, if you weren't there in their shoes, you don't know what you would have done. People say a lot of stuff what they would have done. You don't know what you would have done till you're in that situation.
This question say how someone force a religion, drugs, anything, circumstances, by building the circumstances.
That's how we got drug dealers. There are people who talk about my community. I live in zone 21217 in Maryland. And in our zip code in the state of Maryland, probably more people come from here in the prison system than anywhere else in the state. We're 9% of the state's population, but we're 40% of the people incarcerated in the state. 9% of the state's population, 40% of the state's prison population. That's my community. People get, they get released, they come back to where I live. So when things happen in my neighborhood, there are a lot of people who become Facebook gangsters and say, oh, look at them. One comment that sticks out of my mind, guy said, guns, drugs, and whores. That's what he said about my neighborhood. So in his neighborhood, presumably a white neighborhood like Harford County, they don't have guns. They don't have guns, Peter, in Harford County. They don't have drugs.
Sure they don't.
And they don't have whores.
Yeah, they got
everybody's faithful there.
No, they got all of that.
I think that
up along Route 40 where the trucks would go, nothing but some whores up there.
But it's easy on social media for people to point fingers and say, look at them, look at them. But every time you point a finger, there are three coming back. One guy wrote a comment. He said, oh, it was really mean last night. Oh, we have to come down. We have to teach them how to be civil. We have to teach them how to be human. So I'm mindful, Planet, of the storylines and why we have to maintain our own presence and our own narrative and our own story. We have to tell our own story. That's what you taught me, Peter.
Well, let's go back to the issue of preservation. I mean, the Thurgood Marshall Center seems to be a place where preservation is not detaining.
Did you ever think of him as a coon?
Who don't? No way.
Yeah, I never got that. If you can show me something I don't know, please do. But coon, I think of Clarence Thomas. I don't think of Thurgood Marshall.
That's
and a genius at it. But please show me. And I've tended to relate to Dark Gable's comments. I lived in Newport News and nearly got shot by the DC sniper. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what GDX, you know what that means? Something going on in this chat I ain't quite figured out. Planet, what's on your mind?
Oh, I'm just soaking it all in. Good to see my man, Peter.
Peter was talking about indigenous culture in the 90s. Nobody wanted to hear it.
Yep.
They still don't.
Yep.
He was doing that back in the 90s, in the mid 90s. He was having these discussions. This is a very heavy topic, Hannibal. We all have to look at what freedom means to us as individuals and as a collective, and then move forward with real purpose. We have to utilize our solidarity in our favor.
Yeah, and
that's
and
the wisest wisdom I've heard all night.
And I agree with this. I want our viewers to look. Don't think that because we on different sides of the field that we not unified, or that we on two different sides of the field. We on the same side. We analyzing what happened and what we must do to move on simultaneously. You get what I mean? At the same time, like we supposed to do. We supposed to look at the good and the bad and the ugly. You get what I mean? No matter what it is.
I'm glad you said that. I saw some white people have a post up about Clarence Thomas, and they lifted Clarence Thomas as one of the greatest people ever in the history of the world. And I refused to make a comment on that because I said this is just going to be a fight, and I try to sidestep stupid racist stuff because why entertain? But there are people out here with some ignorance. I mean, some show enough ignorance, just on basic facts. If everybody comes from Africa, including white people, how can you hate that which you are?
What you originate from. They've always been hating women. How do you hate
your mother? How?
They've always been doing that.
Scientifically, the oldest, Africa, the oldest people are melanated. The original people, melanated. Whatever you want to, terminology you want to use. That's where everybody comes from. So how can you hate that which you are? Whether it's Robert Perry or the San people in that, it's melanated. It's clear. It's obvious. How can you hate that which you are? And that which you want to look like. Tanning salons, needles in your lips, needles in your butts. And people going a little too far with them needles in the butts, including black people.
He said, look, I like this one right here. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's, you know, the creeks in Alabama. Alabama got a nice history. People ain't up on it. You know, it's a combination of the tribes from the north, the Iroquois and the Algonquin tribes that fled, the Siouan-speaking tribes that fled from the colonizers. They all had to run somewhere, so they came to the southeast. This is the reason why you don't hear or they don't teach the indigenous history of the southeast, because then you'll have a better picture of who these people were. You get what I mean? You really were. Why they like someplace called Santa de Cristina de Africa, you know, because the tribes there reminded them people in Africa. They weren't saying that these people were from Africa, but the tribes remind them of people from there. This is all the early explorers all documented this. You know, you up in New York where you went to, right? You up there still? Up there, the Verrazano Bridge up there. Verrazano, he was the first one to document the Pequot. And he said they have Egyptian customs and that they trade, their money was cowrie beads. This is what he said. This is what he said in his own words. So that's why when people don't know history, people make all types of assertions about things. That's why
at the same time, it's easy if you had all of the facts in front of you, if you had all of the written materials, which you can't, because even every one of them has some type of political bent, you still weren't in that day and time, in that situation. You are here. What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? Instead of looking backwards, what you gonna do now?
Everything that's complex now is a theory or approximations, not nothing exact. The car we drive, everything is approximations. Theories come from a theory. You know, somebody examining something. So in order to do something now, you have to know what the hell happened to you in the past, unless you're going to fall for the same.
Yeah, but you better also be working today, like to buy some land or to own your house.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's what I'm talking about today. We
totally.
keep looking back, but we better be working today to
I guess
own something, to have something, to preserve something.
I guess I'm looking at the now as current, that everybody is living in the now. I'm looking at the past as what happened to us.
You know what happened? We got.
No, we don't. We don't.
Generally speaking, at the end of the day, robbed is robbed. We got.
Yeah, we don't know who robbed us.
All of them. That ain't hard to figure out. All of them.
All right.
Jigga told you, I'm talking to all of y'all.
Yes, sir.
We checking for ID. We frisking at the door. Matter of fact, you can't even land. Your plane can't even land unless we doing radar on it. New World Order.
That's a good thing right there. Tuska mean Tuscanoogie, and Lusa mean lusty in Muskogee language. So that's why you get Black Warrior. You know what I'm saying? You'll see nothing but black warriors down there. And I can't find it no more. But years ago, I found an article about them finding an Olmec head in Alabama. You can't find that no more.
I further believe a lot of our history has been buried and hidden by the likes of the Smithsonian, the federal government, as Horace pointed out, all of those pyramids that are fenced in. Peter, you never talked about pyramids back then in the 90s. Were you aware of them then? The mound pyramids, the hundreds, if not thousands. One claim was there were 1 million mound pyramids in North America.
In the Americas, yeah. Well, you know, you look at Federal Hill, that's like a pyramid.
Damn sure is.
And then, you know, a lot of these Eastern tribes, they like to be buried in a place where they can look over the water, you know, and be be close to the water, but also elevated. So yeah, there's a lot of mounds, and you'll find them in state parks, especially in beautiful areas where the elders like to go.
Mm-hmm.
Federal Hill here in Baltimore, Hannibal, is right there at the harbor. It is a hill. It is where cannons are, and it goes up. It's got a level, then it goes up again. A step pyramid, built like a step pyramid. Peter, one lady said on the show that Mondawmin Mall is a mound pyramid.
And Mondawmin was a medicine society among the Anishinaabe and other tribes. So yeah, that has a long history, Mondawmin. Yeah, it could be a burial ground, a mound. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So there's a lot of indigenous, like what they call foliage, like native plants that's up that way or something. That's around. You say it's water. Is a water source there?
No, well, not at Mondawmin, but
Yeah, that's uptown. But
other
from
places.
Mondawmin, it is the best view of downtown, I think, in the city. Northwest to downtown. It is the most beautiful direct shot of downtown. Picture perfect.
It's the highest point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's very traditional.
And I would think a cannon could go straight down that shot to hit the water, hit a ship in the water.
So now you got to think about how that's the colonists, what they would use it for. What would the native use it for?
I would use it to launch cannons and protect that harbor.
You know, so you got to think. So down at the bottom of it, it had to be like a city or something, like a terrace, or you get what I mean. So
everything was down there. That's where all of the commerce happened.
Yeah.
So coming uptown, that's transport, a livery service. Here in Baltimore, there's a funeral home. It's no longer around, but it was Joseph Locke's funeral home. It started out as a livery service. They had buggies or carts, transportation around 1835 here in the city of Baltimore. And I share that because a lot of people don't know that Baltimore had the largest population of free melanated people prior to the Civil War. And so Baltimore gets a lot of flack, but I'm telling you, it's because there's a lot of strength here. And I think a lot of places where you got a lot of flack, it is because there are those who don't want us strong anywhere. You know, we've made a lot of strides politically, but we need that parlayed in the economics, like Marion Barry in D.C. Now, that was a mayor, unconditionally loved by the people of Washington, D.C. Marion Barry was my mayor for life. I'm in Baltimore. He was the man. He answered his phone. Marion Barry, mayor for life. That was a mayor. He made millionaires, many millionaires. He put many people in jobs. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a leader. Somebody in position and who knows why they're there. They're there to open the door and help their people. Like Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah. Marion Barry gave me my first job.
Get out of here, Peter.
Nope, it's true.
Well, one of the things that I know, notice about our ancestors was the predisposition to the heavens, right? And you know, when I was growing up in New York, I thought the entire world was New York City, right? Then when I got older, I got to see other places, you know? And I recently came across something where the astronomers were saying that through their calculations, that they estimate that there are 2 trillion galaxies in the universe. So we also have to cultivate an expanded consciousness,
Yeah.
because we're about it all here.
That was deep. I think a lot of the viewers probably won't catch on to that, but the first thing I thought about is what's the probability of other life forms, and then the next thing I started thinking about the Masons with their 33 degrees, and how that goes back to the who's the people that wrote cuneiform, the little that look like
Sumerians.
So you know the Sumerians say it's 33 planets that God made human life on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's supposed to be the basis of Masonic knowledge.
In this area.
In this area. Now that's crazy right there. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
You know, people look into that or what I said. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying is the ancient people, right, clocked time as it related to the solar system, right? So they weren't looking at New York is the world. They weren't looking at Earth is the only planet, right? So one of the things that this whole tragedy has created is our loss of our internal, let's say, DNA memory, right? So when you look at your face, often you can see your parents in it, right? So the physical form, right, replicates, right? So does the consciousness, right? So your father or your mother, transfer to you the consciousness of their life living experience, right? Physically, that's done through the DNA, right? So we are those people. We're both the people of the past and the people of the future, right? And they all meet in the present, right? So we got to look at the whole thing, right? So everyone is going to have a different view because they look from their own personal evolution, right? Not wrong or right, but from their own DNA structure, right? So here, Donnie put up Pyramid of the Sun. Well, damn, we on Earth. I mean, what the hell does the sun have to do with anything? But obviously, they could see a deep relationship to a heavenly body, to their existence on the planet, right? Now, if other people think that that's insignificant, well, that's on them. But if you're trying to get with this indigenous or original or aboriginal or whatever whatever you want to call it, right? Don't lose sight of who you are, what's really in you, what all of your people, all of them, okay, have gifted you with this consciousness that often we take for granted or don't even think about at all. Hmm? So we identify the foe, right? But very few of us have the courage to identify the foe in us and how to transmute that and elevate that, right? So we had a series of times when the psychological pressure of that was so high, right, that when they introduced street drugs, right, it was a way to anesthetize the pain of not knowing your history, not knowing your identity, not knowing where you come from, not knowing where you're going. Right? So we're waking up, we're moving out of that slumber. Right? So let's constantly be open to everybody's DNA, everybody's innate family wisdom, right? So that we can move forward, because we're in a very unique time period right now.
Mm.
Because we're if you notice, they're having discussions, whether it's alternative news media or real news media, or meaning popular news media. They're discussing World War III, right? Now, maybe that might not happen, but that's what's in the common consciousness of the news threads, right? So this is a very unique time, right? Now, the astronomers and the astrologers can point to that this is an exalted time as well. I don't, it could be the Vedas, or you could look at it from the biblical text, from the whatever. It does seem that there's a churning right now that is very, very important and very intense, and that we want to be ready, right, to be a servant of the natural and the true and the grace, right? Let's not get confused. We got a lot on our desk, and we're all doing what we can to bring about consciousness, right, that is invisible, that can do all types of things that we as individuals struggling, fighting, can't do, right? So, when we talk about unity, often we forget the unity of consciousness. So, yeah, that's my two Indian head pennies.
Hey, Big My Baby. She said she had to be silent tonight. You don't have to be silent.
Creek Nation lineage here.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand. Out of them, what they call 5 civilized tribes, we the largest. You know what I'm saying? Quote unquote, be the largest. I guess it was an internal strife. I guess that's what a lot of people don't see from the outside when you look at the nation and how it was broke, and the one who sold, and how they shot him 200 and some times at his front house when he did it. You get what I mean? So they was really upset. He was dead already, and they was still killing him. You get what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, though. So it's a tricky thing, but I do agree with you, Planet, that it's the now. The world we live in now is forever changing. You get what I mean? So we got to be adapting the now. So, where we start,
Yeah, changing dramatically. And that is a good question. Where do we start? We see the same thing happening in Iran that happened to our people. And it was interesting. You were talking about technology and warfare. It was the assumption by the United States that the superior technology would easily win this war. It would only be a couple of weeks or something like that. And it turned out to be a lot more complicated because the technology changed. It's now more about drones, and that levels the playing field for countries like Iran. So,
Correct.
Yeah,
it's the previous idea was, no, the country that has the most wealth, right, has the greatest technology because it's expensive. But the drone technology is 200 times cheaper, and the modern technology makes it as effective, if not more effective,
Yeah.
right, than the larger technology, the
Yeah.
more expensive technology, right? So this is a very unique place, you know. So in modern times, when the people, we've had discussions on the show about warring and this and that, and I often say, well, do you have a aircraft carrier? Well, if you don't, you need to think of other ways. You need to think of other ways to deal with oppression.
This comment here, virtual world. He said, I am a Cherokee, ATL, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's not your original land. And the word Cherokee means foreigner because that's the Muskogee word for Chalaki. So you hear Cherokee, Chalaki. That means people with foreign speech. Cherokee call themselves Anayawi, the principal people. That's what they call themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, if you was in Georgia, you part of Chief Van's people. And he was a Cherokee who had a lot of Muskogee blacks, what they call them black slaves, but they was Muskogee slaves. So that's the history. And he was in Murray County, Georgia. I think that's not that far from ATL. My people in Coosa in Talladega, we about an hour and a half or so west from you guys. So when they was fleeing out of there, they was coming to where we was at as well.
Mm-hmm. And Peter, when we were talking about the technology of war and what have you, and now economics is in a different perspective, right? As you can see in the Ukraine war with Russia, they're giving them some grief because they got the drones, right? But let us not forget that love is a technology, right? And how to utilize that, right? Because within that, something can happen as well. They say that a mustard seed of faith can move mountains, right? Well, that requires love technology, right? But we don't concentrate on that.
No.
Often we mimic the style of the oppressors, right? And this is a global reality, right? But since our history here is so rich and so deep, right? So you look at this structure here and you say, well, that's not the Eiffel Tower, right? That's something else. That's something else. Pyramid is something else. It's not just this kind of yes, no competitive illusion that we find ourselves in. That's a higher consciousness that is seeking a higher connection to the creator.
You speaking facts with this one, but I'm gonna take it a little bit deeper. I'm talking about this comment with Engine Radio.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's speaking facts. He say Anayawi is the true American Indian name, meaning wolf clan. So don't turn your back on a wolf pack. So Anayawi is a collective of the 5 clans that make up the people group, the principal people. So I think I can name about 4 of them. The Wolf Clan, like you said. You got the Wild Potato Clan. You got the Deer Clan. And you got the Holly Clan. And it's one more, if I'm not mistaken. So them 5 clans, all of them name begins with Ani. And they got all different meanings for the Ani, the deer, and Ani, the wild potato, and the blue holly. They call it blue holly. That's what they call it. I think blue holly come out of Tennessee somewhere because that's the bluegrass state. I think that's some connection with them there. You know, so learning the intricacies of the tribe is a lot of things because you got the Chickamauga Cherokees that was on the side with us with the Muskogee, so they didn't fight with Andrew Jackson and them. So when you talking about a tribe, you got different clans. So the clans be like a council when they all meet together. So all these clans have to agree for certain things. So if that's why I was kind of like, no in the beginning, because you had a council that disagreed with what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? So who's right if the council said it was wrong? You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying bluegrass state is Kentucky. So you talking about, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, all that was as one coming out of Michigan, right? You got Michigan at the top, you got Ohio, you got Kentucky, then you got Tennessee, then you got Alabama. That's the whole how the states roll down there, right? So them 3 states in the middle was basically like Shawnee territory. Shawnee was the bigger war group, you know what I'm saying? And I think they call Pequots up there too. Pequot Shawnees. You get what I mean? Piqua instead of Pequot. But that middle of the country was Shawnee, and then the Cherokees coming out of Michigan coming down that way. Then you got, like I said, the Uchis coming out of Maryland and Virginia that way, and the other tribes. You got like we say, it's thousands of quote unquote tribes or family groups. That's what a tribe is a family group. Don't look at a tribe as a group of people. Look at a tribe as a family. And then it'll sink a little bit more, like your grandparents and their sisters and brothers all together in one place. Your great-grandparents and their sisters and brothers in one place, and their children. You get what I mean? That's what makes a tribe. So a tribe ain't just people or friends or neighbors. It's your family members. You get what I mean?
Right.
I guess that's the understanding that I had to learn doing this. You ain't just talking about like your neighborhood here. I had a couple cousins that lived down the street, come around the corner. No, I'm talking about everybody that's there is blood relatives or someone that was acclimated or brought into the tribe. You get what I mean? So.
And then the clans were another family.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he's KS95. I have Tuscarora ancestry of those who stayed behind in North Carolina after the Tuscarora War. I also have Waccamaw, who intermixed with them, and others due to warfare and general conflict as well. So when he's saying Waccamaw, he's talking about the tribes down in like South Carolina, down there with the Cherokee. So you're talking about South Carolina is north of Florida. So you're talking about like Miccosukee people, or you're talking about Chicora, Chicora. And this is they written in a book about being Hebrews. Chicora, Chicora. And a lot of people get that tribe mixed up with being Cherokee. But if you go and look at pictures, it's just black people like us. Quote unquote, what you say, black people. You know what I'm saying? So no matter, it's no way you could run. It's just coming to the awareness, you know what I'm saying? Becoming to the awareness of how they describe these people. Like I know like the Tuscarora, they talk about them having colored eyes. Because they said that it was a place called Roanoke, where some people was left behind and the Tuscarora was there with them. So that's why a lot of them have like greenish and gray eyes, and has a lot of them had red hair. You know what I mean? And then you had the what is it, Croatan tribe, Croatan, that was down there. I think they was with them Tuscaroras. So I think the Tuscarora at first they did, because the Tuscarora is a Iroquois tribe. So I believe the Tuscarora was running from the Haudenosaunee, because the Haudenosaunee was taking everybody's land, even their own people, and that's how they get from out of like New York area all the way down to South Carolina. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's advantageous to not just know one group of indigenous history, but a collective.
Yeah.
You can start with the 5 tribes, then move to the Eastern Seaboard tribes. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Cherokee Park, Shawnee Park, Algonquin Park, Iroquois Parks are all the names in Louisville, Kentucky. Go figure. Tell you, because they was running south. They was coming south, and they was coming from the coast and moving south and east, and some of them was just moving directly south. You know what I'm saying? Then as they was moving south and east, you have the colonists and their group of people called explorers, exploring the new land. You get what I mean? They was coming out and they was surveying, meaning they was measuring by chain lengths, miles. You know what I mean? Taking actual chains and measuring it. So this was their wherewithal to do what they did here. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you get a mile. A mile is, I think, 66 links in the chain. 66 chains, I think, something like that. So what does this make me? Indigenous.
Kentucky.
If you're from Kentucky, it make you indigenous with several Algonquin, Iroquois, and Muskogee speaking people. You part of 3 other major groups, and the Sioux, 4 part of the major groups, and probably even more. You know, like I said before, you'll see that the trade network went all the way out to California. So it all depends on who your family is or who you are, and what was your responsibilities in the clan, in the tribe. You are right, Hannibal. My Waccamaw lines are from the border of North and South Carolina. All them people like the Yamasees and stuff, I think them is like remnants of the Yamasees, because you know the Yamasees was fighting in the early 1700s to colonists. So they fought them like in the 1730s, 1720s, you know, and then when you look at the records for the Yamasees, they all describe as being black. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the Gwale, you know, the Gwale is what a lot of people say the Gullah Geechee. That's why it's 2 names for Gwale and Geechee. You know, so that history of the South opens up, you know, the Southeast especially, you know, because they ain't come down there to really establish it until the mid 1700s. So you can easily go through history on that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 37 years old. Okay. So we've been at it. So what you thinking about, you know, Planet? You know, how you think we should end the show tonight with the sound?
Hit us with the bowls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
I love that comment that I gave. I see it. That your granny was Chickamauga. That's Cherokee, and she spoke Muskogee. That's Creek. You see?
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you about how the Chickamaugas with the Shawnee became allies with the Muskogees. You know what I mean? All right, now.
You can go with a different bowl, Peter.
Mm. That's a chime.
Yeah. So yeah. So
Serious.
so it's important for us to not to forget the love, right? So uh, often what is said is, there's nothing stronger than a mother's love, right? And they also bring about, uh, you know, this frequency that we call love is really misinterpreted, right? Because you can't interpret love, right? Love comes from uh, feeling, as Peter was talking about earlier, the feeling, right? And this is invisible, right? So it connects you to an invisible realm, right? That's why thoughts of protection that can come from a mother or a father can reach a child who's on another continent visiting or whatever, at working, or might be in the military, right? But they hold that person in their heart so hard, and they send a frequency to through the prayer to the, these are all technologies that we have as being here on the planet, right? So we can't forget that. That may be our greatest strength, right? We always want to adopt the rules and the procedures of the oppressor as the only way. Their description of what life is, we accept. We need to turn on thinking caps to explore other means, right? Because as you can see, their means only lead to war and death. Is that what you want, really? You want to concentrate on that? Or do you want to open your heart up to get some frequencies, perhaps from the previous photo that was up of the temple to the sun? Maybe there's something in the sun that can give you. It gave you your color, right? It might give you something else that can flip this switch. May we all witness and be showered with the great cosmic love that we all come from and are. Blessings.
Ashe.
Peace, peace. Hey, y'all, I would like to thank everybody for viewing and listening into the conversation. I want to send out a special shout out to the General Mafia Shakur. I see him in the chat room. You know what I'm saying? I want to send a shout out to everybody, all the viewers, and everybody come watch us this Thursday coming up. You know what I'm
Horace
saying?
Lee
Shout
the
out
third.
to Lee.
Horace Lee the third.
Yes,
We
sir.
want to
That's what
send
I'm
our energy to him as well,
yeah.
and
Shout out
all of our families.
Doni. And like always, Peter, it was nice to talk to you again. I hope you'll be
Always.
here Thursday to talk with us again next Thursday.
All right.
Okay, see you guys soon.
Hey, Pete.
Okay.
All
Peace
right.
out.
Blessings.